Hey everyone, this is Gary. This video is going to be focused on helping you get started with the TradingView platform and using the strategy, the edge strategy. So to do this, I created a dummy account uh, or just signed up as a user for a free or basic subscription on TradingView. And that is the screen that you're looking at now. I will be using this to show you a couple of things, and then I'll move over to my account to show you the rest because the free or basic version of TradingView is extremely limited on what it can do. So we're going to sign in, and by the way, once you get the authorization that you've been approved, uh, before you try to do anything, make sure that you're not signed in to TradingView. If you are, please sign out and then sign back in again. If you don't do that, you may not be able to see the authorized script that you need to get access to. And I've gotten emails and calls on that in the past with that being a problem for people. So once you get the authorization, sign in to TradingView, and I'm going to sign in with my fake account and then go to the super charts. There's only one thing you need to do in the profile section, and that's going to be based too on how you want to handle your alerts. But go to profile, and if email alerts is fine and that's all you really want, then you don't need to do anything here except, of course, fill out all your basic information, email address, and so on. But if you want to get text alerts, you're going to need to go to this field down here where it says alternate email for alerts. When you go here, it helps if you contact your carrier first, your mobile carrier first, and tell them that you would like their suffix to use with your phone number to have emails converted to text so you can put it into a program. The As an example, I use T-Mobile. So my particular field here has my phone number, the area code, phone number, and then after that, the @ and the T-Mobile suffix is TMOMAIL.NET. So that's what I have in this field is my phone number and the TMOMAIL.NET. And with that, I can get text alerts. Once you put that in here, click Add Email. I believe you will get a test email text to check it out, make sure everything's working okay, and then, of course, save your changes. That's it for the profile section. I'm going to go back and get to the charts. And here, I'm going to show you where you can access the script and indicators. So you need to go up here where it says indicators, click on that, and in the main menu down here, you'll see what's called invite only. Click on that, and you will see on the right-hand side here, LETF, Leveraged Edge Strategy version 1.5. The little lock here shows that it's an authorized only type of script, and all you need to do is click on that once to have it added to your chart. But what you could do before you do that is, and this applies to any indicators or strategies you look to add in TradingView, most of the time you will see a little box or like letter type form over here on the right. If you click on that it's going to take you to a detailed description of what that is about. So in this case, it shows you a picture of the strategy chart and then a very detailed description, overview, performance, how it works, etc. And it gets into a lot of detail. You might want to take a minute to read through this. It may be of help to you as far as understanding how this thing operates. The tutorials, I think, will help you more, but it certainly wouldn't hurt and may help you understand it a little bit better. So you can exit this just by clicking the X up here. It's going to take you back, and I will click on this to add it. Click it once, and I've got an old one on there that I'm going to take off. An old strategy. I'm going to delete that one. So now we have the new strategy on here, and I can configure this just by going to this little icon here, which is the settings, and going in here and going through the different settings. I'm not going to do that just yet because I'm going to do that on the my account where I can show you some other things as well. But I want to go back to indicators here for a minute. There are a number of indicators that will be of help to you, and I want to show you what you can do with those. So as an example, I've got a whole list of those indicators up on the web, on our website, and if you go up there to the resources page, you'll see a combination of links for different videos you can watch to learn more about TradingView. Not just learning the basic program, but learning some detailed aspects of it, like learning more about the strategy tester, which is going to be a great help to you with the strategy itself, and other things like the replay bar, and maybe doing paper trading, which I encourage you to do, particularly if you're just starting out with this strategy, to get familiar with it and see how it works. Paper trading is a great way to go. But there's a number of indicators that will be of help to you, and I'm going to run through them and show you how to save them real quick on here. But the first is a lot of times it helps to know what is happening from a buy and hold perspective as far as a back test that you've inputted. We try to provide that for you as part of the strategy. So when we do run a back test with the strategy, we will provide you with what is happening from a buy and hold perspective over here in this white box where it says buy and hold. That's an estimate based on percentages. It's not going to be exact, but it's going to be good enough for general purposes. But there's another way of doing this too, and that's with an indicator that's just called buy and hold. And if you go up here, you'll see a number of community scripts for buy and hold. This is a buy and hold calculator by SOXL 21. And if you want to save this, if you think you're going to be using it on a frequent basis, and I would think that most of these indicators I'm going to point out, you will be doing that, go ahead and click on this description over here, and it's going to give you some detail about the indicator first. But you can go down here, and where it says add to favorites, click on that, and that'll automatically be added to your favorite section on the indicators, and I'll show you where that is. I'm going to exit that, and you see how there's a gold star up here now for that being one of your favorite indicators. And if you go over here to favorites, you'll see that now, as one of your saved scripts, and so you can easily get to that at any point. And you can add that to your chart simply by clicking on it like you can any indicator, and it's going to get added, and you see it up here on the top left by an old calculator. And this operates the same way as most others, in that you just go to settings and put in the settings that you want. Key here is you'll need to add a properties, a initial capital amount. I would match this with whatever you're using for the strategy. If you're using $10,000 as initial capital for the strategy, then I'd suggest putting that in here. If you're using a different amount, then use that different amount. But if you don't put in initial capital amount here, it's not going to work correctly for you. And continue with the order size. 100% of equity is what I would recommend. Continue using that. And I keep getting these pop-ups, sorry about that, from TradingView. Little advertisements, and that's because I've got the free basic version up here. In any case, simply fill that in as far as the initial capital, then go to your input, and you just put in the date that you want to have this calculated from. So if you want to do it from the beginning of 2024, you put in 24 for the year, and January is already in there, and you'd probably put in January 2nd as a starting date. And then the end date would be down here, again 24 with the end date, and we can take it through December 15th, 16th, whatever date you're up to here. And that would give you then buy and hold for the TQQQ symbol for that period of time. So I'm going to click on that. So we've got that date in here, and we're not getting an amount. I wonder why. Oh, no. Oh, that's right. I can only have one. I think I can only have one indicator working in the free version at a time, and that's probably why it's not showing up. I'll show this to you on the paid version that I use, and that'll be a lot clearer. But I want to show you the other indicators real quick that I would recommend bringing in, and one is called the distance from moving average. And if you just type in part of that, you don't have to type in the whole thing. And distance from moving average, and I would go ahead and use this first one here by Bonnet 101 as the author, and do the same thing here. Click on that, add it to your add to favorites, and then exit out. Then you can go on to the next one that you want to put in, and the next one is the MACD, which you'll probably be using a fair amount. So we can try just MACD, and that will bring up this list. And if you click on this one here, the moving average convergence divergence, that is just the standard setting within TradingView, and you can just click on this star here, and that'll add it to your favorites, and you'll be fine. That's right. Come to think of it, I might be able to do that on some of the other scripts too. Maybe that'll make this thing go a little bit quicker. Then the next is moving averages for all time frames. For all time frames. That's by John Muchow. And you don't have to use this one, but I would recommend putting in some kind of a indicator for moving averages. This one gives you the opportunity to do it for daily charts, weekly charts, intraday charts, etc., and have different settings. And it's a very good indicator. It's the one I use, but you don't have to use it. Any moving average indicator is probably going to be fine. All right, so I've added that one to the favorites now. The next is the Relative Volume Pro, because you're going to want volume for, particularly if you're going to look at stocks, and you're probably going to want that for at least some of the ETFs as well. So this is called Relative Volume Pro, and that's by John as well. I'm going to click that to favorites. The next is Slope Velocity. Slope velocity is one that we use a fair amount with some of the strategies as an additional indicator. So there's slope velocity, and that's the right guy. This, well, I'm not even going to try to say his name, but in any case, and this list will be on the website in that resources section. So it'll be easy for you to find. And there's only a couple more here. Actually, there's one major one, which is U.S. markets, net new highs and lows. This is by Carson Insights. And I recommend this as far as a great indicator to give you a sense of what's happening in the market in general. What is the health of the market? Because monitoring the new highs and new lows in the indexes can be a real good indication of health. But read up on it. There's a lot of detail over here, and there is an add-on you can do with this. Actually, I'm going to show you what this looks like for a minute here. But to do that, I need to take this off, get rid of this junk down here. God, I keep getting these pop-ups on the free version, and very good. Now I'm going to add that in. I'm going to go to the favorites, net new highs, add that in, and that shows you the new highs in green and new lows in red, and it shows you through part of the chart, but there's an add-on piece you can add to this, pretty much the same name, U.S. markets, net highs. Well, let's see here. Here it is, chart overlay. U.S. markets, net highs, lows, main chart overlay. So save that to favorites. And what that's going to do then is, well, I probably can't show it to you again because I think I can only have one indicator on here at a time. We'll give it a try though and see what happens if I add that chart overlay. Oh, it is going to let me do it. Okay, good. So it extends that color up throughout the chart. So it's easier to see what's going on as far as the highs and lows relative to your price candles or your price bars, whatever you're using up here in this section. Okay. So that's it on the indicators. And now I'm going to move over to my account. So I'm going to exit out of here, sign out of this. Okay. Doesn't look like it signed me out. What the heck is going on here? Why didn't it sign me out? Leave. There we go. Finally. Okay, good. All right, so now I'm going to sign in with my account, and it'd be a lot easier to show you things with this. All right. So the first thing is that resources section on the website has a couple of templates that you could use for charts in TradingView. So it's going to help you with a starting point if you're not already using TradingView and don't already have your charts set up, if you're relatively new to this, or if you'd like to use charts similar to what I've been using for demonstrating the strategy and so on. There are several different charts up there. The first I'm going to show you is a light version of the chart, which some people prefer a light color and some people prefer a dark colored chart. So I just pasted that into a new tab, to a carriage return, and now I've added that to my chart. So now you've got a white looking chart with your prices on here, and you can go through with your indicators and you can add on your favorites. You can add on the stochastic, the strategy uh, down here, and you're pretty much ready to go, at least basically. What you should do is then save this as whatever name you want to call it. All right. So if you're looking at the TQQQ and you want to save this for that, that's fine. Then all you got to do is decide what name you want to call it. So you might want to click rename, and that's going to show you what the name is currently. And this is the template version. Another option is you could simply save the template as is, and instead of changing this one, you could make a copy of this one, make a copy of it, and we will just call this one, I think they automatically just call it copy. See, and they've added the word copy to the end of it. So I'm going to save a copy. And now I've got a copy of it. So now we've got that. You see how I've added another tab up here. Now I've got three tabs, one from the original that was with the program when I brought it up. The second is the one that I just loaded in, which is the template. And we can go ahead and just save that as the template. Uh, yeah, we'll just save that as it is with that name. And then we can even close that out so we don't mess it up. And I'll show you how to get back to that in a minute. But this one we're going to save as whatever name we want to call it. So let's rename this one, and I guess we will start out with looking at the TQQQ daily version of the settings. So I'm going to name this as TQQQ-D for daily, and then later on, after I do a settings, put the settings in and check the back test to make sure everything is correct. What I like to do is put in a dollar amount so I have a sense of what dollar I'm looking at matching for confirming that I've got the right settings in for the input tab. But then I put in the edge strategy because you might want layouts for stocks or other things, and the version. Uh, and then you can delete this member temp light in the copy entirely. and just leave it at that and save it, and you're ready to fly. All right, except that now you need to add the indicator on here. You go to invite only, add the indicator, and now I'm ready to go on the daily. Before going further though, to make life easy, you could, if you wanted to, make a copy of this chart to use for your weekly version of TQQQ. So you'd simply go up, after you save this, you go up and make a copy and leave it at copy for now. Now we have a copy, and what we'll do is we will change this, make sure it's set for weekly. That's set for weekly, okay, and we'll go in to fill in the settings for that in a minute. And then we want to save this, rename it to a TQQW for weekly, and we'll change the dollar amount later on, leave the edge and the strat in there in V1.5, and we'll go ahead and take out the name copy, and we're all set. We'll save that. So now we've got two charts in here, one that we can use for daily and another we can use for weekly. I'm going to go ahead and change this to daily here. All right. Every time you make changes to the chart, to any of the indicators on the chart, whether it be the strategy or if you have a moving average on here or something else, it's going to ask you if you want to save those changes. You don't have to save them if you don't think you're going to need them again. In other words, if you're just making changes that are on a temporary basis, then don't save. And the reason I'm saying that is because if I close this out, if I just close the chart, and I can go up here and hit exit to close that out, it's asking me if I want to, why is it telling me, asking me if I want to leave the site? I don't want to leave the site. I just want to close that tab. Why is it doing that? That's kind of strange. 1 second. I'll try to figure that out. Is this going to do the same thing to me? No, it didn't. Maybe it's because I hadn't saved that one yet. What I did is I closed the weekly version that I had saved a minute ago. I'm going to save this daily. I'm going to close that too. All right, there we go. That's, I guess, why I was trying to ask me if I wanted to leave the site, because I hadn't saved that. Now, to bring those up again, all I have to do is bring up the layouts, and I can do that a couple of different ways. One is I can go to this list over here with a drop-down arrow, and I can pull up recently used is one way that I can do that. Another way I can do that is, 1 second. Another way to do that is by, again, using that drop-down arrow and going to Load Layout down here at the very bottom. When you click on that, it's going to bring up the different layouts that you have saved. And we had saved those two layouts, and we called them the TQQQ Interesting. We call them the TQQQ. Here we go. The TQQQ weekly, member temp light, and we actually changed that to edge strategy. That's right, that's the one we brought in. Then we changed it to TQQW 115,000 edge strategy version 1.5. And we did the same thing for the daily. So here is the daily version right here, and that's the TQQQ D 262,000 Edge version 1.5 code. All right. So this is the list of the layouts that we have saved. I tend to save a lot of layouts. So because of that, finding specific ones for me can be a challenge sometimes, but they are in an alphabetical order. But it makes it a little bit difficult to show as I'm doing a demo here. But I'm going to do that load layout again, and what's going to happen is we're going to bring up those two that we saved. We're going to bring up the weekly right here. And you see when I clicked on that, it brought it up as another tab on the chart. And I'm going to click on load layout again, and I'm going to bring up now the daily version of the TQQQ that we did. And that is well, I think that is probably this one as a guess. Or no, it's probably this one. Yeah, this is it. Okay, great. So now we've got the two tabs up here, one for weekly, one for daily, on the light version of the chart. I also created a dark version that you can download that you can use if you prefer dark as opposed to light on your chart. And I'm going to bring that in, copy, and I'm just going to click up here for another tab, and I'm going to do a paste it in, carriage return, and now we've got the dark version in here. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. We'll go ahead and save this one. We're going to rename it. It's not going to be a template. Well, no, let's save the template for you first. We'll go ahead and save the template. All right. And so now I've got a template version saved. Now let's go ahead and create another one. We'll make a copy. Make the copy. And then we'll close the template so we don't mess around with that at all. And then we're just going to be working with a copy here. And I'm going to rename the copy so we don't have the member template copy on here anymore. And instead we're just going to call it, you know what we're going to do is we will add the word dark in here after this so we know that this is the dark color chart. All right, and we're going to make this, let's make this one the weekly version because that's the default setting on the strategy as it comes up initially. So I'll make that weekly. And we'll save that. And we'll go ahead and add the strategy to it. And then if we save that, all right, we've got our weekly version of the strategy and chart together. We're all set to go. Now we're going to make a copy of this. Make a copy. And we'll just leave it called copy for now. All right, now we have the dark chart again, and we've already got the strategy loaded up in it. We're going to go ahead and change this to a daily version of the strategy. Click on OK. And then we're going to rename this one. Take out the copy word. And we're going to change this to D for daily. All right, now we've got a dark version of the chart that's a daily. And we have 4 tabs up here now. We've got 2 for the daily. One's white and or light colored, and the other one is dark. And we've got 2 for the dark weekly. So four tabs up here. My point is that you can have a lot of tabs up here at the top on your chart. And I would recommend going through a similar type process based on how many of the leveraged ETFs you really want to follow. If that is just the TQQQ, the SOXL, and FNGU, then make 2 charts for each of those, one daily and one weekly, unless you know that you just want to follow the daily version of the strategy or just the weekly version of the strategy. It's all up to you and what your preference is. But go ahead and make your charts, and then you can have them up here, and it's easy to follow them at any point. You can also take these now. I've got, as an example, this is the daily version of the TQQQ. I can simply make another copy of this, make a copy, and now I'm going to name this, instead of TQQQ, I'm going to call it the SOXL, and I'm going to leave it to D for daily for now, and leave for dark because I've got the dark chart, and I'm going to leave it for copy for right now. Well, no, I don't even need to leave it for copy. I can just take that out because we changed the symbol and do a save. And now I've got a 5th chart up here that is the SOXL. Now I can make a copy of that. Make a copy. And I'm going to call this one the weekly. Whoops. Use a capital W. And I can go ahead and get rid of the copy here too, because I did change something in the name here. I changed the D to a W. So we will now have a weekly version of SOXL. So now I've got 2 charts, well, 4 charts for TQQQ and 2 charts for SOXL. And now I can do 2 more for FNGU. And I could have them all running up here at the same time. And this very first chart is really just the NASDAQ. And you can use the first chart or 2 for NASDAQ, monitoring the NASDAQ and market health. And that's pretty much what I do. This is a weekly version showing the NASDAQ. And I've got on here the distance from the moving average, so I can get a sense of if the market is getting extended from the 50-day or 10-week moving average, I should say. And I've got the index volume, and I've also got the the RSI down here as well, the Webby's RSI. So it really depends on what you want on your chart and what is going to be most useful to you. But enough on the NASDAQ and the market. Let's get back to this. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the light colored charts here and use the dark colored charts for the next part of this. And we're going to go ahead and put in some settings to get you going on the strategy. I paused the video for just a second to set this up, but I put a half page of the TradingView chart up here with a half page of the Excel spreadsheet for the best settings. So it'd be real easy for you to see what I'm doing here as far as the transfer and doing the setup. I'm going to go down here to the strategy and I'm going to click on the settings tab and bring that up. And since this is the weekly version of the chart, you can see that over here, TQQW. We'll continue with that one as far as putting in the settings. And that is over here in green are the weekly settings. And first is the time frame, which is the W, and then it's proprietary. We've already got that in there. And then these settings, the 5, 4, 3, go here. So we've got a 5, and then we'll change this from a 3 to a 4, and then this is a 3 as well. And then the next part of the settings is we always leave this long. It's never going to be anything but long. The stop type is a trailing stop. We're going to leave that trailing stop. That's normally what it's going to be, but you do have flexibility on here to change it and use a fixed stop if you want. But for the strategy, we would be using trailing stop, and sometimes we don't use any trailing stop. Depends on the strategy. The next is the percentage of that trailing stop that we're going to use. And in this case, the percentage for the trailing stop is 35.5%. You can see that over here, trailing stop, and over to the right, 35.5. So we're going to put that in, 35.5. And then the next is the PD stop percent, and that's the prior day stop percent. And that is right here. So roll number 2, which is 12.9% for the weekly. So we'll put in 12.9. And then the profit target is right here, and that is 33.6% for the weekly. So 33.6. I'm going to toggle down some more. We always keep these checked, the enter on the tie and the re-enter. Enter on tie means that if we have a tie in the range setting for buying, that we are still going to continue on with the buy. It doesn't have to be specifically within the range. If it lands on a tie, that's okay, and we'll go forward with it. The re-enter means that if we have a stop out and we still have good conditions, the normal type condition that we'd look for to make a buy, then when we're stopped out, we will go ahead and make that buy the next day if those conditions are still favorable. But we normally will keep those checked, but those are variables that you can change and see if the changes that you make with them are better for you for your particular trading style and your risk tolerance. The next is exit level, and that is down here. Exit level is cell row 1B, and that is 28 in this case. And I'm going to get into these more when I go through the training on the rules. which is another training session by itself. I'm not going to try to explain this stuff right now as far as why these settings are what they are and so on, and what each of the settings mean. The next is the trade range, and we've got a buy range and a sell range. The buy range for weekly is 12 to 65, and the sell range is 12 to 60. So 12 to 65 and 12 to 60. All right. We're not going to be doing an additional indicator right now. I'm going to show you that on another training. So right now we're just going to leave this the way they are as far as the settings. The key here is you always want to make sure if you're not using an additional indicator that this says none. And that's what the default is, so you'll be fine as long as it says that. The last settings on this page are the backtest dates, and we have those right over here. Backtest dates are down here. It starts start backtest and end backtest dates. So right over here on the weekly, we have a start on January 4th of 19, and we have an end on July 19 of 24. So we can simply go back, do a backspace on that, put in 19 there, and then if we click on this, we can go back to January. Of course, we could put that in manually as well, but it's January 4th of 2019. This is a timestamp, and you always want to make sure that this timestamp is on 0000 when you're doing the backtest settings. That makes sure that we don't accidentally move into looking at anything on a different day than what we've set in here. The end backtest is, like I said, what did I say? I said it was July 19th of 24. So July 19th of 24 is, we're going to put in 024, and then we're going to move back to July 19th. And change this to 0000. All right. Now, we always leave this checked as far as the narrow backtest range. And then we go to the next page, which is properties. Properties is going to be pretty much set. You don't have to do much on this page. What we have in here is $10,000 for initial capital to use, U.S. currency, and then we're going to be working with an order size of 100% of equity. These are all things that you can change, and I encourage you to try different things. You've got everything to gain and nothing to lose from trying different things with a strategy. So do that. Check things out. I like to encourage people to use a little bit in commission and slippage, but in the past for settings, a lot of times we have not been doing that. But you'll see now in the settings down here where I have a note on the settings page, I put in here what I've used as far as a slippage or commission percentage. And for the weekly here, I'll have to change that to bold because it's kind of hard to see, but it's 0.1% commission and slippage is 3. So we want to change the commission to 0.1, and then we're going to change slippage to 3. And what that means is that we're going to assume that every trade is going to have a commission charge against it of 0.1%. And it's also going to have a slippage of about 3 cents. That accounts for not getting the exact same price in for your buys and your sells that maybe the strategy puts in, because the strategy does it in an automatic manner. And it's even harder when the strategy does a lot of this based on the closing price of the day. You, as the trader, are going to have a hard time matching that ending price of the day exactly. You're probably going to be a little bit less or a little bit more than that ending price of the day, depending on your timing and how prepared you are to take action at the end of the day. The other thing is whether or not you're okay with doing a trade after hours. Some people don't like to do that, and that's fine. In that case, then you can make the trade the first thing at the open in the next morning. Or if you are fine doing after hour trade, after the market closes, and you just go back in and get the best price you can. So in any case, we have both commission and slippage in here, which is going to bring down the total net profit of the strategy. And it's going to be different if you're one of our beta users, one of the users that were helping us over the past year with the strategy and giving us feedback. You saw a lot higher net profit amounts than you're going to see with some of the best settings that I'm putting out now. And that's because I'm adding these in, trying to get things a little bit more realistic for what may really be appropriate for a day-to-day, real-life type scenario. So those changes, and then the only other thing is we want to make sure that down here where it says fill orders, you want to make sure that this is always checked on bar close. So that's going to tell the strategy that, when that bar closes at the end of the day and we go to make that buy, that's when it's going to happen. So you got to make sure that that is checked. And with that, the only other thing you might want to change in here is if we go to style, down here, this is where you have your level set. So you can set your levels for either your buy range level or your sell range level. So you could have a buy range of let's say, a high of 80 and a low of 20, which is the default here. You might have a sell range that you want to set for something else, but it really depends on what you want to look at on the chart for your particular situation. If you are getting ready to make a new buy, I would recommend keeping in here the levels for the buy range. That makes sense because then you can see what those levels look like down here in the strategy, because those levels are right here, this bottom right here and this top right here. And you can see what the fast line and the slow line are doing relative to that and whether or not they're crossing within the range, which is going to be the condition for a buy. If you are looking at doing a sell, if you expect the strategy to be getting out of a position soon because the price is going down and the market seems to be turning a little bit sour, then you might want to change this to the sell range. And in that case, the sell range here for the weekly is 12 to 60. So you would put in 12 to 60 here, and that then would be your sell range. And then that changes and narrows this range here. And you'd look for a cross down of the fast line below the slow line within this range. The last one is the level setting. and that is this setting on the input page, the exit level. And in this case, it's 28. Now, that can be a little challenging, but what happens there, and I'll get into this in detail in the rules as I go through those, but the fast line and the slow line are going to cross above the range, somewhere above the range. So it's going to cross somewhere higher than 60, and then that fast line is going to come down below the 60, and it's not going to trip because it's not crossing between the 12 and the 60. It's going to come down below that until it gets to, if it gets to 28, then it's going to exit. If it doesn't reach 28, it's not going to exit. But that's the difference between the range and the level sell. And I'll get into that in more detail later. But if you want to watch for that, then you need to change your style in that range. I would just change this top one to 28 because that's your level for that, or that's your high for that level sell, and then you can see if you're getting down to that level for the exit. So that's when you would change those particular settings. I'm going to move that back to 65. We'll leave it set for the buy range for now. And what we're going to do is look, I'm going to expand this and bring this up a little bit. And what we're looking for is this number down here, this net profit amount of $115,202. And if that amount matches what we have in the best settings amount, then you know that you have all of your settings correct. And I'm going to bring that up. I paused the video there for a minute while I brought up the spreadsheet and put these back to half-page settings. But here we've got 115,202, and over here on the best settings, we've got 115,203. So I'll usually round this out. If it's 50 cents or higher, I'll go to the next dollar. So that's what we have. It's 82 cents, so I rounded it out to 203. So that means we have all of our settings correct for the strategy for the TQQ daily setting. And now there's a couple more things we want to do on this. I'm going to move that back down. And we're going to save this now because that is our final setting. And there's something else you can do as a safety measure with this. Why is that showing? That shouldn't be showing. I'll get rid of that for now. But anyway, as a kind of a backup measure for all these settings and what we just did, you have up here where these four little square things are, it's called indicator templates. And you can click on that and you can save everything we've just done here as an indicator template. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell it to remember the symbol and remember the time interval, which is daily, and the chart is a daily chart. And we're doing the TQQQ, and I'm just going to name this the TQQQ daily, and now I know it's the $115,000 one, 115K, and I'm going to put in, I'll just put in the code version 1.5. And then I can save that. Now, the reason that that is important is that if you are working and messing around with changes in the strategy, trying to see what happens if you do certain things. Let's say that you decide you want to see what happens if you change the stochastic setting from a 3 to a 2 here. And by the way, when you do that, bring up this lower part here so you can see what happens down here as far as your net profit amount, because as you go through these changes, that's going to change almost immediately. But I changed the number here, but I have to move the cursor. Either I have to do a carriage return or I have to move it out of the box. I'm just going to give it a carriage return right now. And you see how that just dropped down now to about $46,000 instead of 115,000. So that's a huge move by one little change on the strategy. So I'm going to change that back to a 3 and do a carriage return again. And we'll go back up to $115,000. Let's say I decide I want to change this from 12.9 to a 10% on a PD stop. That's going to bring it to 102,000. I'm not going to change that back again, but let's say I change the profit target now to 25%, carriage return, and I brought it up a little bit more to 109,000. And let's say I change the exit level from 28 to 50, just for grins. That drops it down to 91,000. And let's say I want the buy range now to be, let's say 12 to 100. All right. And that brought up to $119,000. Now, here's the thing. I can either try to go back to the best setting spreadsheet and try to look up what were things I changed and how do I get back to the original settings. What I don't want to do is, I'm just going to cancel that right now. What I don't want to do is I don't want to hit the save. If I hit the save, it's going to save everything that I've done here, all these changes. But let's say that, I make a mistake and I accidentally do hit the save. I wasn't thinking and I hit the save and I didn't mean to do that. Well, gee, now everything is really flubbed up, right? Because all those settings are changed and now I've got to go in and change everything to get back to the original configuration. Well, I don't have to do that particularly. I can go up here to the indicator templates and I can go to that template that I saved, that TQQ day 115K, and just click on it. Now it's changed everything back. I'm back to $115,000 down here. And if I go into settings for the strategy, I'm back to 543. I'm back to 33.5 and 12.9 and 33.6. All the settings are back where they should be. So that indicator template is like it's a backstop or a backup, I guess, copy of the settings that we made. And I can go in there easily and change this at any time I want. Now I can save it again, and now I've got it saved in my layout. All right. So if I hadn't changed that, if I hadn't gone in and used that indicator template thing, and let's say I had made those changes, 3 and a 2, and then I went back up and I changed them back. Well, no, let's say that I just left it there. Let's say I made these changes, made that 25, and changed this to 100. Okay. Now, all those things were changed in settings, and I've definitely got a wrong net profit total. If I go up here and I hit save, it's going to save all those bad settings, and I don't want to do that. So what I want to do instead, there's an easy way of fixing this other than doing the indicator template. I can simply close the chart. Okay, go up here and exit, close the chart. Oh, that's right, I'm used to using the app version of this on the desktop as opposed to the web version. And I got a hunch that this is going to kick me out if I close that. Well, let's see if it does. I'll just bring it back up again because I really want to show this to you. So I'm going to close this chart by clicking on this X. I'm not going to save it. I'm going to close it. I'm going to say, oh, wait a minute, prevent the page from creating additional dialogues. Oh, that doesn't help. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and click leave. All right, good. It didn't close me out of the program. I thought it might. Anyway, so that now page is gone, but it's slid back over now, and I'm showing this page. What I can do is, all right, see we've got a totally different page here. This one that says $46,000. What I can do now is go back over here to this drop-down arrow, and I do the load layout, and I simply bring up that TQQ layout that I saved. All right, your list is going to be a lot shorter than mine, believe me. And we're going to go to the TQQQ $115,000 one, edge strategy, and click on that. Oops, no, that's the other one. That's the light colored one. I want to bring up the dark colored one. Let's try that again. I can't have too many of those in there. All right, so TQQQ 115, that's the light colored one, I believe. I bet you it's this one right here, probably. No, that's the light one. Darn it. Sorry, folks. I don't mean for this to take so long. Try one more time. All right, so we know it's not that one. And those are the copies. All right. Oh, okay. That's right. We named it dark, didn't we? So that's got to be it. All right. So I brought up our saved layout, and the saved layout had all the right settings in it. So we're back up to that $115,203 or so for the net profit. So that means we've got all the settings back in here again. Now, there's one other thing I want to show you here that is kind of important. You notice that on the strategy itself, you don't see anything happening up here. There's nothing going on, and this is the current day right here. This is December 13th, and there's nothing going on, and that is because right now we've got this set for the backtest dates down here. So the strategy is going to stop on July 19th. It's not going to show any activity after July 19th. In order to show activity on after July 19th and through the current day, we have to make sure that this is set for a date in the future. So what I usually do is I just go down here and I will change the 0 to a 1. So we'll backspace there, put in a 1, and now I'm 100 years in the future. Now click OK. And that way I can easily go back and change that if I want to get back to the backtest setting. And now I'm going to see activity through the current time period. And we had a buy on November 29th on the TQQQ weekly version. All right. So I'm going to save that again. And this is where you want to save it because now you're all set up for current real-time watching of the strategy. Because as you continue moving forward day by day, you want to see if you get any more signals. And because we have that date set in the future now, it will show those signals up here in the pricing and down here in the strategy. So the next thing is we would go in and go to the daily version of the TQQQ because we just did the settings for the weekly. And by the way, these tabs, you can easily rearrange. It's just like a web browser, as far as moving them around. It's very simple to do. But we would just go in here and do the same thing as far as our settings for the daily version of this and set them based on the best settings spreadsheet and do exactly the same thing that I showed you for the weekly. And then do the save. And then you've got layout saved for both. After you save that, then save the indicator template as well. And you're ready to go. I'm going to do a separate training on the alerts, on how to set up alerts, and that will also cover adding the additional indicator to the settings to boost the performance. And I think I will touch on some things with the strategy tester in that training as well. So there's going to be another training beyond this one, but with what I've just showed you now, you should be pretty well set to go to get started using the strategy on a daily basis. If you have questions, of course, shoot me an email and let me know. Thanks, and talk to you soon. Bye now.